Awards Luncheon on October 27th in Omaha. Help us thank volunteers with a celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired with the
You're listening to Walk the Herd on 93.7 The Ticket, when unheard issues get brought to light and every perspective counts. Here is your host, Rebecca Pearson.
All right, Sunday night, Lincoln, Nebraska. Here we are on O Street, 93.7 The Ticket. This is Walk the Herd. For anybody that's new to the show, we are about unheard perspectives. So where every perspective counts. My goal and my job with this show is to kind of give you a different viewpoint of something you may not have even been talking about. Partly education, partly to help people provide acceptance or understanding about people that are different from them. So I'd like to talk a lot about differences and would love to have you participate if you're listening. So you can call in or text in at 402-464-5685. You can watch us on channel 961 with Allo, YouTube on the Sartor Heyman video stream. You can look at live streaming on Twitter and Facebook. And of course, all these shows are recorded, so you can tell a friend when it's all over and send them a link. So welcome in. I have a co-host tonight because Aniko is not joining us this evening. She should be back next week, calling in from Maryland, and hopefully she is watching us. But I have a co-host who's also my guest tonight, which is Miss Emma Spence. Welcome, Emma.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. And so for people who don't listen to the show all the time, Emma has her own show with us on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. I got 6 o'clock.
6 to 7, yeah.
6 to 7. And Emma's got her own story. We're going to hit her up with something that she doesn't talk about a lot tonight to fit the program for Walk the Herd. But I would like to start a little bit by just getting people familiar with you. And you and I have not had this conversation, so I get to ask things like I don't know the answer because in most cases I do not know the answer.
I love it.
So here's what I know. So Emma Spence is Canadian.
Yes.
She is a 2022 Olympic champion. Is that right?
Not quite.
20, okay.
I was, a 2020 and 2024 Olympic team member.
Team member. Okay,
yeah.
Great. Okay, excellent. And in gymnastics?
Yes.
Okay, nice. And you were a former Husker gymnast?
Yep.
Okay. And you have since graduated from the undergraduate program?
Yep.
And you're working and you're in a graduate program?
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay. That's about all I know about Emma Spence. So now you get to fill in all the blanks for us. So give us you can start with maybe the gymnastics career just because that's, something that a lot of people don't get to hear about, but feel free to tell us anything about Emma Spence.
All right. Let me see. So I did gymnastics. I started when I was 7 years old and I retired earlier this year. So I did it for a total of 15 years.
Retired at age 20, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Retired from sport. And I was on the Canadian national team for 8 years. So I got to compete to so many different countries around the world representing Canada. That was a really, really cool experience. And then I was on the Husker gymnastics team from 2021 to May of 2025. I graduated with my undergrad in communication studies with minors in education and psychology. And now I'm still in Lincoln. I work for a digital marketing company, and I'm also getting my master's in counseling through a Canadian program online.
Okay, very nice. And what's that going to be a master's in?
Master's in counseling.
In counseling.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So why counseling?
Well, I feel like that's something that I would really enjoy to do, like just being able to engage and learn from other people and just help them through their journeys. I feel like I've experienced a lot of different things, and I've actually worked with so many different counselors throughout my gymnastics career. Honestly, I think it would be really cool to focus more on like the sports counseling side of things. Just because I feel like it would really relate to my background and things that I've gone through. So that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. I mean, I can always change my mind on like the different type of, I guess, group I'd like to work with. But I think that's what I'm leaning towards right now.
And what does counseling mean in this context, and especially around sports? What all does that entail?
So, I mean, kind of anything. Like, honestly, when I went to sports psych here at the university, I didn't even really talk much about sport. Like, there's the side where you can talk about mental blocks and, I don't know, handling pressure at competitions, stuff like that. And I did a lot of that before I ended up coming to Nebraska, but I used it more as just, I guess, a way to talk about things that I was going through that I didn't maybe feel comfortable talking to my friends and coaches about, and just kind of navigating some hard times. And I don't know, I feel like you can really use it for anything that like you need it for.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of the main thing that I used it for.
So maybe talk a little bit about tonight's topic is going to be around body image. So if you've tuned in and you're wondering what we're going to talk about, I'm just going to give you the heads up. But I want to kind of work into that because both Emma and I have experience in this area. We're going to speak from our own experience, and if Anika was here, she'd be adding to that, and we can hit her up at a later time to add to this conversation. But when you talk about counseling and helping people through, especially athletes, give us a perspective on what it's like to be an Olympian on an Olympic team. You're performing at the very highest level of athletics, and then you're in a D1 school here, so also at the highest level. How do you help anybody who is not even an athlete understand pressure and expectations and everything that goes with that level of performance?
It's a lot. I mean, I don't even know how to explain it because, for one, you're competing for yourself, but when you're competing on the international stage, you're representing your whole country. So there's that level of I am representing Canada, and like I am the image of the country at this competition. So having that pressure of like not letting the country down, not letting your teammates down, and everyone that cares about you is watching back home. And then it was similar when I was competing for the Huskers. You know, you're representing Nebraska, you're representing Nebraska athletics and everyone in the community. So you have that pressure of not wanting to let down the people who support you back home. And it's a lot. And it was really hard to navigate. And that's ultimately why I ended up working with sports psychology since I was probably like 13 years old, just to handle those feelings and change the perspective so that whenever I went out to compete, I wasn't just thinking like, oh my gosh, I can't make any mistakes. People are expecting so many things from me. So it was really about reframing it in a sense of like, I've put in the work. I know what I need to do when I go out and compete, and kind of trusting that rather than just focusing on everyone who has all these expectations on me and what could go wrong. It was very, very mental.
And, you know, I'm sure people can understand expectations, but with expectations, I always like to ask, where did they come from? Because you have ones that you put on yourself. You have ones that are articulated. You have ones that you make up because no one articulated them, but you feel like they're there. And then you just have ones you make up that actually aren't there. So what can you help us understand about the expectations of the country and the people who are counting? You said counting on you. What are they counting on you for, right? You're just performing. Like, what? Give us the lowdown.
Yeah, and honestly, that's a really good point because I don't think it was really from the people that I like thought it was. Like I was like, oh yeah, the country's counting on me, but like not really. Like they're just going to be happy to see you out there and compete, and they'll think it's cool that you're representing them.
Right.
They're not going to get mad at you for not doing well. They're not going to like if there weren't really any consequences in the sense that I was thinking that there would be. So it was a lot of it was really self-inflicted. And I've kind of always been like that. And I don't know if it's just the environment I grew up in. Like gymnastics is a sport where you're so judged on everything you do. Like you have judges on every event. Like the sport is basically how perfect can you be? And if you're not, the judges are going to take the points off. So I don't know if it was growing up in that environment that I held myself to that standard of like, I need to go out there and I need to be perfect, because that's just what I've been told throughout my whole gymnastics journey, really. So honestly, yeah, I think it was really on myself. Like I just put that pressure on myself. And it probably wasn't necessary, because at the end of the day, I mean, people from back home that were watching me compete overseas, like they just thought it was cool that I was there.
Yeah.
And they were proud of me for being there.
How about, and do you think, I'm going to ask you two questions. Let me ask you about the coaches first. So how do the coaches either set expectations or you imagine expectations, or both? What kind of expectations does a coach have of their top athletes like this?
I think it depends on the coach. I'd like to think that they all just want us to do our best. And like at the end of the day, that's all you can really do. I mean, I'm sure there are some out there that that just want you to be perfect, and
Mhm.
like super strict coaches are like that. Like you need to go out there and you need to hit your routine and you can't make any mistakes. But I think most of them really just want you to go out there and trust yourself and believe in yourself and the work that you're putting into it. Um, that's I don't know. It's really hard because I feel like it depends on the circumstances and the situation as well. But the
Give
way
me some
that
examples. Like, how would it depend? Give me two
yeah.
different
So
type.
like if you had a more strict, harsh coach that maybe just it's very interesting because you can get into it and you can think of, does the coach put their self-esteem and their image before yours? Like
Mhm.
you can really look at it from either way. But
Sure.
then if I look at it from when I was here competing at Nebraska, the coaches really helped me by breaking down my routine. So instead of you have to go out there and you have to do a perfect routine, it's like, okay, we're going to break down the routine that you're about to go out and do. Like, for example, the beam routine, it's like a minute and a half long. And we're going to break it down so that it's like everything you do, it's like one thing at a time. So you're going to get up there, you're going to do your pose and you're going to have your chin up and you're going to hold it for a second. And like we really like slowed it down so that you're only focusing on one thing at a time and doing every like little thing as good as you can do it rather than go up there and hit your routine and make it good. It's like, no, we're going to break it down so that mentally it's not as overwhelming and
Mhm.
you can kind of walk yourself through it in a way that's not too difficult or overwhelming to think about. And I think that was probably the best way to go about it for me.
Mhm.
It could be different maybe depending on the athlete, but for me it was really slowing down the way that I was thinking about it. Literally every detail, every step that I would do is like one thing at a time. Because if I started thinking too far in advance, it didn't end up well. Um, so like really slowing it down.
Right. Okay. Well, we're here with Emma Spence, and she's breaking down for us what it's like to be a top athlete performing at the highest levels and expectations. How about your teammates? Is how you're describing you feel common of high expectations, this perfectionism that's kind of driven by your sport in particular, where there's literally
Hmm.
judges and tens and not tens,
Yeah, yeah, literally, it's either you get
right?
a 10 or you don't.
Or you don't, and then there's all the nitpicking of
Yeah.
where you lost the points and all that kind of stuff. So is that kind of widespread, or is that more unique to the individual and how they interpret that?
I feel like it might be a little bit unique, but overall, I feel like a lot of us feel the same thing.
Mhm.
If you want to succeed at the top level, I feel like all of us are really going for that 10-0 score.
Mhm.
Um, so you really put that pressure on yourself to do that. But another thing, I guess, when we look at the coaching styles that I wanted to touch on is I feel like each athlete has their own coaching style. Like I know there's some girls that are like, you need to tell me like I can't make any mistakes when I go up there, and that really gets them to lock in. But then there's some girls that are like, just give me a little pep talk, tell me that you believe in me, and then I'll go out there and do my best routine. So you
Mhm.
really need to have those conversations with the coaches and with the girls on the team so that they know how to prepare you and support you going into that routine so that you can do the best performance for you. And like that was something that we did on the team too. We had those conversations like, okay, when I go up there, this is how my like what I need in my pep talk. And like
Mhm.
some girls was more harsh, some was a little bit more, I guess, sweeter and you're so great, you're so beautiful, like just go out there
Yeah.
and do it. And like it honestly also changes for each event,
Mhm.
which is kind of interesting because when you go up on beam, you have to be a little bit more in control and slow down. But then when you're about to run full speed down the runway, you need to be a little bit more hype, a little bit more serious, and kind of more of a stern conversation.
Mm.
So it's really like there were some times where I'd had conversations with my friends, and I'm like, okay, before I go on beam, I need a little bit more chill and like
Mhm.
calm, but you can yell at me before I compete vault, and it's fine. So like it really depended on the situation.
And so it's the coach's job to know how to coach each individual athlete, right? And I relate a lot of this to business because that's what I know. I was
That's true.
never a high performing athlete of any kind, although bodybuilding was what I attempted to do at some level, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
However, in the business world, you have to figure out how to manage each individual
Hmm.
person the same way, and you coach and develop people differently. So I can
Yeah.
relate to that. And
Hmm.
the art of getting the best out of your team, lies with the coach,
Yeah.
right? And then, of course, you have your teammates in your case and colleagues in the business world where you're trying to say, okay, well, how do we complement each other, right?
Hmm.
And boost each other up, right? So lots of commonalities
Yeah.
in that sense. So a lot of pressure on the coaches, of course,
Hmm.
to get the best performance. And we'll come back to, the coach's identity tied to their athletes.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if that's what I could say.
Oh, well, so if we think on the landscape of the world and the historical gymnastics programs that have won.
Yeah.
US, China, Russia. I mean, Russia, right? Russia's the pinnacle.
Yeah.
Still, I think, right, of gymnastics. And there are so many stories in the press and lots of stories about what's happened in gymnastics over the years and the training regimens. And I think, people publicly have said those coaches have an identity tied to this performance, which comes out on you. So on top of hadn't really thought about it till you said it, the judging. That's different from football. You're not getting judged like that on every play, every move. So much higher scrutiny. I think swimming would fall into that same bucket probably.
Yep.
Right. I'm not sure what other sport. I mean, wrestling maybe a little bit, sort of, kind of. They're getting points for matches and things like that. But yes, so some sports are lending themselves more to this kind of perfectionist mindset.
Yeah.
So then let's talk a little bit about your experience as an Olympian. How is it different than the experience in the collegiate environment?
Yeah. So I feel like it was a lot more serious. Like, I call that elite gymnastics, like versus NCAA gymnastics. So if I refer to that, elite gymnastics is a lot more serious. They don't have as much fun when they compete. You don't see those celebrations that you see after an NCAA routine. I feel like the stakes are just a little bit higher, and they aren't necessarily, but that's just what people like to think. There's kind of some stereotypes in the elite gymnastics side about NCAA gymnastics being easy and all that stuff, which I really don't think is true, especially from someone that did
programs,
both. Yeah. Like, it's hard. You're competing every weekend in the elite side. You only compete maybe 5 times max a year. And then on the NCAA side, you compete about 12, 13 weeks in a row. So it's just a different way of training so that you're able to last competing that many weeks in a row versus elite. You're doing harder skills, but you only have to peak about 5 times a year. So the way that you go about that is different. And then I guess each country probably has its own way of going about it too, because sometimes like, you get paid for competitions if you perform well. The country or the federation or the coaches, athletes get paid for it. So it's kind of like seen as a job. I know things are kind of shifting in NIL now too. And who knows where that's going to go. But I'd say those are probably the main things. And then I guess NCAA gymnastics, you only start out of a 10. You can't go higher than a 10. But in elite gymnastics, you can start at whatever level of difficulty you can do. So that's why you see someone like Simone Biles winning everything, because her difficulty level is just unmatched.
Off the charts,
yeah. No one can even get to the same start value as her. So she has like a good 2 points ahead of everyone before the routine even starts.
Right.
So you can kind of, if you're really good, like, you're going to score really well. But in the NCAA, it's kind of an even playing field. Everyone starts out of a 10. And then the best you can do is a 10. So you're really chasing perfection. Whereas in elite gymnastics, you can kind of fall back on your difficulty and that start value being higher if the execution maybe isn't as great.
Yeah. So, but regardless, both of these are levels of performance and perfection that most people have no exposure to. So when we talk here on Walk the Herd, it's trying to help people understand and relate to what these folks are going through who are in these elite programs. And now we could talk about any sports program and the performance and the coaching that's required. So let's talk a little bit now. We'll dive into body image as it relates to gymnastics specifically. Now, the general stereotype, if you imagine a gymnast, at least I will speak from my perspective, impressive as all get out, very fit, muscular, low body fat, things I would notice that other people might not, because I'm dialed into that from a bodybuilding perspective. Plus you're wearing outfits that complement body shapes, and there's a lot of your body on display, and people are staring at you, and it's millions of people. And if you're an Olympian, millions and millions of people watching you, staring at your body. How does that feel, knowing you're on TV and everybody is staring at your bodysuit that never wants to stay where it's supposed to be.
Yep.
And you're on national television. Like, what is that even? How do you even wrestle with that concept?
Yeah, it's a lot. And it really depends on like the leotard as well. Like, you know, you have some that like I wear and I'm like, I feel so confident and like I don't mind. But then there's sometimes some that don't fit the best and you're like, I don't really want to be seen. And it's not like the designer's fault or anything, but it's just the way that it flatters you or maybe doesn't
Body
flatter
types.
you. Yeah. And
All
it
body
changes between different people. And then you've got in gymnastics has these crazy rules where you can't have your bra strap showing or else you get a deduction.
Oh.
You can't have your underwear showing, you can get a deduction. So like you're kind of running out of things you can do
like
to
the heck with the bra and the underwear go
exactly.
without.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you're on your cycle, like
right.
there's that additional
joy.
concern.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of different, I guess, things that you're focusing on that isn't even really gymnastics related at all. It's just based on
total
like,
distraction.
how is this fitting me right now? Like there's also deduction if you adjust it during a routine.
No kidding.
Yeah. So there's some times where you're out there competing. It's like, I know this is not fitting me right now, but there's nothing I can do.
What a great perspective, because, you know, sometimes, again, I speak from my perspective. I'll just talk. I see a gal whose leotard's riding up in their back, right? And a lot of her backside is showing. And I think, like, oh my gosh, like just fix it. Right. Or she's got an amazing rear end, you know? I mean, because they're so fit, right? The women, and we're going to talk about men's gymnastics, right? But for me, I'm so much in admiration of the physique, because my world started in the bodybuilding world. So much appreciation for what it takes to get there. But I'm also thinking about that poor girl, right, who's got something that isn't working right and having to deal with it. But I didn't know you couldn't adjust it.
Yeah. So if you're watching and you're like, oh, just like you can't fix it until you're done.
You're going to get points deducted.
Get points off. Yeah.
Can you imagine how distracting that is? You know, okay, so for all the women that are listening, or the guys that see the women who something's not in the right place walking down the street, and, you know, you just fix it.
Yeah.
In public. If you can't do that on national television, international television, I can't even imagine. That would stress me out just all by myself. Yeah.
And then there's some cases where like you see a girl like kind of try and put it through her choreography. So like you kind of make it seem like it was a dance move to fix it.
Right.
But yeah, that part of it is just crazy.
Right. Okay. So then you see all body types. And now, again, you're on display for a very long time, so people watching can examine all of that.
Yeah.
And they're not judging you necessarily, although I'm sure some people are thinking that. But, you know, you've got very muscular thighs, or you've got a very muscular set of arms, you know, and so the different events. So you're on beam and floor and vault is.
I did all of them.
You did all of them. Did you do parallel?
Uneven bars.
Uneven bars. Sorry. Yeah. Well, I say parallel for the men's side, but yes, uneven. So you did all four.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it requires different muscle groups to be good at those. Right. So then you might have a more all around developed, physique, I guess, but not everybody's bodies develop the same way in all those body parts.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So how do people comment? So from a performance perspective, you had mentioned to me that you're getting coached on how to improve your performance in ways that relate to your body. Yeah. So how is your body part of your performance? Just walk us through what part of that is driving performance.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you can look back on how things used to be in the culture of gymnastics, and I feel like things have been progressing more positively. But in the past, I mean, coaches would be like, you can't do this event because you're too heavy, stuff like that. And like that stuff that I was told growing up.
Well.
No, you can't do bars right now because you are 0.4 too much, like of a pound too much. And then it's like, okay, go run until you're at the right weight, and then you can go do your bar routine. Like some coaches get so nitpicky with that stuff. But honestly, here, I feel like, well, like at Nebraska, the coaches do a really good job at working with the nutrition staff. So it's not necessarily the coaches making comments about what you should or shouldn't be eating and like how to feel yourself properly. It's coming from the dietitians who actually know what they're talking about. And when I was here, a lot of it was making sure that I'm eating enough rather than trying to prevent myself from eating and all that I was told before coming here, because that's the best way to kind of make it through, I guess, the NCAA season, which is like 12 weeks in a row, back to back.
Right.
You need to be able to have enough fuel and energy in your body to last that long, but then also just get through the practices. And and compete at the level that you need to be. So it really depended on the situation. But I think the biggest thing was just making sure that I was eating enough and then working out enough to build enough muscle, which is different because if you look at it 20, 30 years ago, people weren't trying to build muscle. It was like, how lean can you get? How small can you look when you're going to do these routines? But now a lot of it's more like people are realizing you need the power, you need the strength to be able to compete at the highest level. And you look at someone like Simone Biles, who she looks strong. And because of her strength, they're like, oh, it does work in her favor. And like, if other people are doing it, it works for them too. So we're kind of in the shift in culture, I feel like, where people are realizing like, wait, if we actually have muscle, we're able to do even harder skills. And that's where on the elite side, the harder skills you do, the higher start value you have and the more chances you have of winning.
Right.
So people are kind of figuring out these things like within the last couple of years.
Okay. Great place to take a break. I'm with Emma Spence. This is Walk the Herd on 93.7 The Ticket. We'll be right back.
After a long, hot summer, are you ready for fall? What about your home? Is your heating system ready for cooler temperatures ahead? Call Bryant for your fall heating check. No matter what brand of equipment you own, Bryant's trained technicians will thoroughly clean and inspect your furnace or heat pump to make sure you stay warm, safe, and comfortable. Call today to schedule your home heating check. 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Tired of asking what's for dinner? Nourished for Life has got you covered. At Nourished, they're a local meal prep company that delivers fresh, chef-crafted, healthy meals straight to your door. Made from wholesome ingredients and ready when you are. No shopping, no chopping. Just heat, eat, and enjoy every night of the week. Fuel your busy days with balanced meals that are designed to keep you satisfied and energized. Visit nourishedforlife.co to purchase meals and taste the convenience of home-cooked comfort without the hassle. It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier power sports dealership. Get geared up for savings like you've never seen before during Elway Days. Their biggest sale of the year runs October 14th through the 18th when every red tag machine is priced at invoice plus $300. That's it. No freight, no setup, no extra fees. Don't miss out on these epic savings. Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered all under one roof with a large selection of side-by-sides, ATVs, motorcycles, and personal watercraft at their 27th and I-80 location.
Imagine hitting rewind on your life 10, even 20 years. With testosterone therapy from Limitless Male, you can turn back the aging clock and get your edge, energy, and confidence back. If you've lost your drive, sleep deprived, muscle loss, belly fat, irritable, you're not the guy you once were. Get your T levels checked at Limitless Male. More and more men are realizing hormone replacement can turn back the clock. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmale.com.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. We hope you'll join us this year at the Step Forward Awards luncheon on October 27th in Omaha. Help us thank volunteers with a celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You never think cancer will happen to you. I smoked for over 40 years. My doctor recommended that I get annual lung cancer screening. They were able to catch my cancer at stage 1. It's never too late to quit. Even if you're still smoking, you need to ask your doctor about annual lung cancer screening. Just 30 minutes a year could save your life.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Husker fans know when you work together, great things happen. At Cornhusker Bank, they're more than your financial partner. With 5 locations in Lincoln and 1 in Omaha, they're your neighbors, your teammates, and your biggest fans. Whether you're saving for your first home, planning your future, or growing your business, they're right here in Nebraska to help you move forward together. Visit cornhusker.bank to learn more. Cornhusker Bank, member FDIC. Doing life together.
Deciding on a college with your high school senior can be a little overwhelming for parents. But applying for money to pay for it is simple. FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, is now easier than ever with fewer questions and faster fill-out times. If you have a high school senior, now is the time to apply for thousands of dollars for classes, books, and housing. Get started, Nebraska, at dothefafsa.org. Sponsored by Education Quest Foundation. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You're listening to Walk the Herd on 93.7 The Ticket. Here is your host, Rebecca Pearson.
All right, welcome back to Walk the Herd. This is Rebecca Pearson, and Emma Spence is my guest tonight, but also my co-host on Walk the Herd, where unheard perspectives are heard and every perspective counts. So we're trying to get multiple perspectives tonight. Emma is gracious enough to kind of give us the behind the scenes of being an Olympic gymnast, being a D1 gymnast. And we were just talking before the break about how things related to the body contribute to performance. And you mentioned there's starting to be a change, that there was a time when lean and mean, I guess, was the way to go.
Yeah.
And now there's more understanding on nutrition, muscle, on performance. Is that right? Are there certain things that maybe happened over time that you feel like were catalysts for that kind of a change? Do you assume that's a good change?
Yes.
You're factoring that into a good change. Yeah.
Yes, I would definitely say it's heading in the positive direction. And I feel like a lot of it honestly started during COVID.
Mhm.
That's when the Me Too movement really started. And it started also to like go into gymnastics specific, which was really interesting to watch. So gymnasts from around the world started telling their stories with like the hashtag Me Too.
Yeah.
And it was stories about abusive coaches, eating problems, like
Mhm.
all those kind of things, the sexual abuse stuff that was going on, the Larry Nassar case. So all of that stuff really started to come out during COVID.
Mhm.
And I feel like once that and like those discussions were really starting to be brought up, that's when changes really started to happen. Which is really interesting because it wasn't necessarily like a good time, but it's like out of all of those stories, changes
come.
Yeah.
Right. And you have some leaders that are former gymnasts.
Yes.
Female gymnasts, right? So getting more women in leadership positions, there's more of an ability to relate to what women are going through as gymnasts.
Yeah. So if you look at the like USA Gymnastics now, the people that are in charge are former Olympians.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have girls or women, I guess, that went through those experiences as athletes, and now they're the ones making the decisions. And I think just having that perspective is so important because they know what works, what doesn't work, how it impacts you physically, mentally, emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of leading through those experiences.
Right. Okay. If you have questions for Emma or on this topic, you can put them in the chat, 402-464-5685, or drop them into YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. We're going to sort of evolve this conversation to the lean and mean and eating disorders, which are very common and one that I can relate to. So now I'm going to give 1 minute on my association with this topic because it's very important to me and I've lived it my whole life. I was anorexic when I was 18 in college. I wasn't an athlete, just, random anorexia, but driven, perfectionism and control is underneath a lot of this. And you can hear it in the gymnastics world. My perfectionism came more from my family, nothing bad, just, kind of a family driven maybe mindset, a little bit of religion in there. If you're Christian, then you might understand, the perfection that people associate with the, where you're trying to get, but you never get. And then I came out of that on my own, but I turned to bodybuilding, or at least trying. I was never able to compete, but I really wanted to. So I was very diligent in bodybuilding. I had a competitive bodybuilder as a trainer. And at that point, I'm into the workout regimens, the eating, all that stuff. But this is back in the 80s, and similar to a transition in gymnastics and any sport, there's so much science that goes into it that over time, you get smarter about how to build muscle. And so if you're in the bodybuilding competitive arena, it is about muscle, low body fat, and symmetry, basically, right? That's how I think about it. But you're judged on symmetry, and you lose points for not having it. Symmetry in bodybuilding is upper body, lower body, and not having some muscles more developed than others. But if you can't see the muscles, you're not even getting very far. And so the only way to see the muscles and get the definition is low body fat. And to get to the low levels of body fat required for muscle definition to show to compete, you are, unhealthy levels of body fat for sustaining life.
Yeah.
But it's competition driven. So it's not meant to be what you look like all the time. Right. But because of that, you're putting on weight to build muscle and then taking it off to show it. Right.
Yeah.
And so there's a parallel, certainly in gymnastics, I'm sure, in the off seasons and any sport, again, in the off seasons, muscle building or just changing your body type or whatever, and then getting in shape for the season. Right. There's a sort of cycle like that. Is that fair in gymnastics too?
Yeah. I wouldn't say we really have a downtime per
Okay.
se. It really, I guess, depends.
That sucks.
So I know. So for example, when I was competing here at Nebraska, I was doing the NCAA season. And then during the off time for NCAA, I was competing internationally. So I never really had, I guess, the off season. But how it works for like a typical gymnast here is the whole summer is like just hard workouts.
Okay.
Like it's really training your body, building that muscle.
Right.
And then preseason starts in like September. And then you're getting into the routines. You're doing a lot of endurance, a lot of cardio, stuff like that to prepare for the NCAA season.
Okay.
You have maybe 2 months that are a little bit lighter when season is done. And then the cycle kind of starts again.
But if you're trying to build muscle, and this is true in football, if you follow football, volleyball, all these things, right? It certainly all these sports have evolved to understanding how to build muscle.
Yeah.
And how nutrition can weigh in and how scientific nutrition is and how dialed in that is just by person.
Yeah.
Right. And all these crazy diets, for anybody who follows any of this or suffers from any of these things, we're with you. We understand, from keto to Weight Watchers, to the average person dealing with Weight Watchers or whatever else, nutrition has evolved very sufficiently, right, to really help athletes. So what have you learned or what's changed in the sport to help you? And then how did you wrestle with body image and how did that affect you, both good and maybe not so good?
Yeah. So the way that I kind of talk about it is I feel like to begin, it wasn't necessarily self-driven. I was in an environment back home when I was training. I had an abusive coach and it was so strict. Like I'd wake up in the morning, had to send a picture of my weight. She told me if I could eat or not.
Oh my
like
goodness.
that day.
Whoa.
And I was like 13, 14 years old.
Wow.
So like your body's going through all of these changes. And at the time when it's like, when you're told this is what it takes to go to the Olympics, you're going to do it. And then same thing, get to the gym. If I was even like 0.4 pounds too heavy for what she wanted me to be at, get wrapped in plastic wrap, put your coat on, your pants, and you run around until you lose that weight.
Gosh.
So it was crazy. Like I was doing this kind of thing for a couple years of my career, trying to make the Olympics, which was really, really tough mentally. Because there were days where I'd send her my weight in the morning and she'd be like, "You're not eating." I'm like, "All right, gotta go get ready, get my uniform on, go to school." Just sitting there trying to get my school done, like starving, get to practice. And, the weight's still higher than she wants it to be. Why'd you gain 0.2 pounds during the day? It's like, well, I had some water. Well, you're not allowed to drink water. It's like, oh my goodness, you couldn't do anything right. And then while you're young, you're going through all these changes. It can really mess with you mentally. And at the time, that's what I thought I needed to do to succeed. So I did it. But there were definitely long-term impacts of that, because even when I was no longer with the coach, I didn't believe that I could practice if I didn't do that, because that's all I knew. And then when we look at like event specific, like one of the biggest things was bars, because it's all hanging on. Like if you're heavy, like it's harder. And I don't know if it necessarily is, but that's what I was told for so many years, that like we always end bars like last event of the day was bars because that's when you were the lightest because you've already done some of the events.
Wow.
So then I came here and I was very vulnerable and honest with the coaches. Like I was like, I can't start bars. And they're like, what do you mean you can't start bars? I'm like, I'm too heavy to start on bars. And they're like, what are you talking about? And then I have to explain it all. And they were like, okay, I see. But like, that's wrong. So like I was very vulnerable with the coaches and the nutrition staff here to kind of help me, and sports psych, like mental performance, to kind of overcome those challenges because it was so engraved in me that it took so long to overcome those things. And like I would travel internationally to compete. I had to pack a scale with me. Like going on family vacation, I was like 15 years old. I had to bring a scale, like just crazy things that now looking back were so unnecessary, but that was kind of part of the culture at the time. And that's what was so normal for not just like even my club, but girls all over the country, all over the world were kind of forced to do the same thing.
And what, so you talked about being heavy on the bars. So for anybody who's
it's like 0.2 pounds, which is crazy.
Right. You know, and so if you watch uneven bars where you're holding on, right, or having to pull your legs up or whatever, how about, were there other weight related or maybe just physical attributes on any of the other events? So tumbling or, you know, beam or anything like that? Or is it mostly driven by the bars?
The biggest thing that she would always say is bars. And like, honestly, I don't even know how much it really impacted it. Cause now, like by the time I graduated and retired earlier this year, like it didn't matter to me what event I started on. Like I was at the point where like I wouldn't say fully erased from those thoughts and memories, but I didn't think about it like I used to. It was just like a crazy time.
Was it all performance driven, or was there ever just a physique look that a coach wanted for a team? Now you could talk about other nationalities, maybe whatever you know from your Olympic experience on the international world. Like, was there ever anything about, you know, we talked about this in cheerleading, right? You got to wear your hair in a ribbon, and you got to be blonde or not blonde, or, you know, God forbid you're not even capable of being blonde because your, you know, ethnic background doesn't really lend itself to that. So what did you expose yourself to, or what did you see?
I feel like it was both. Like, you know, the coach would say how she wanted you to look a certain way. Like she'd come up, like pinch your legs, there's too much fat, like just things like that. Like there was the body shape that she was going for, but then there was also like the way that she would make it feel like it would impact your performance. But yeah, like I said, this is definitely not just specific to my coach, my experience. This is something that so many other gymnasts and even girls on the team have gone through before coming to Nebraska too. And like an example I was telling you about earlier is that I was competing at an international meet. We were literally in the arena, and the national team coach of the Chinese team pulls out a scale, puts it on the floor right beside the piece of equipment, and we're just watching the girls go like back to back, just getting weighed in the arena with like the whole arena full watching this going on.
Right.
And like it was just so normalized in the culture that like people weren't saying it was wrong. People weren't really like, everyone was just doing it because that's what they were told to do.
Right. And you don't necessarily know why they were doing that, right? I could only hypothesize that they had some goals that they had to meet, and maybe the penalty for missing weight was after the fact with something. I don't know what, because at that point they're having to compete, right? Like they didn't kick people out from competing.
I
don't know. The coaches didn't prevent them from competing maybe at that weight, but maybe they would use that for feedback on performance.
Or if they perform bad, then this is the reason. Like,
and why would a coach want the gymnast to look a certain way that wasn't related to performance, or would they just rationalize it was performance all the time?
I don't honestly know, because for the longest time, like, why does it matter to you?
Right.
Like, if I can do my routine, then we're good. But
so how did that? I guess we need to take a break. So we're going to take another. We're going to take a break. I'm going to come back and ask Emma how it made you feel. You know, what you did to yourself after the fact, and how you handle all of that. So this is Walk the Herd, 93.7 The Ticket. We'll take a break and be right back.
Nebraska farmers, harvest is here and every gallon counts. That's why Sapp Brothers Petroleum launched the Go Big Red Fuel Giveaway. When you contract your fuel with Sapp Brothers, enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits. As Husker Country knows, the only thing stronger than the roar at Memorial Stadium is the drive of a farmer putting food on the table. Fuel your farm with Sapp Brothers Petroleum and enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits. Visit sapbros.net today. Sapp Brothers Petroleum, fueling the heartland. Go Big Red.
If the power is out, traffic lights might be too. If you come across a dark intersection, treat it like a four-way stop. See more tips at les.com/safety.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks. Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
This fall, Baumgars has everything you need to get your farm ready for the season. Stock up on livestock feed, deer corn, and pine shavings to keep your animals fed and your farm running smoothly. Need tools for your fall projects? Grab DeWalt power tools and grass seed to keep your fields in top shape before winter. From your barn to your backyard, Baumgars has you covered. Get ready for the season with everything you need to finish those fall fix-ups. Baumgars, field, farm, and fall fix-ups.
Are you looking to upgrade your equipment and keep cash in your pocket? Through October at Landmark Implement, get up to a 24-month waiver on select John Deere tractors and combines, or lock in a 2.9% fixed rate for 36 months, followed by a qualified standard rate for another 36 months. Whether you're thinking of this year's harvest or planning ahead, we've got a solution that works for your bottom line. Visit your local Landmark Implement for more details, or check us out at landmarkimp.com and experience the Landmark difference.
Schaefer's is celebrating its 79th anniversary with special rebates, financing, savings, and free delivery store-wide.
Update your home with innovative Samsung appliances and save up to an additional $900 with rebates. Samsung Innovation saves you energy and time with easy-to-connect appliance technology. Plus, during Schaefer's anniversary, get free delivery on your appliance purchase.
So hurry in during Schaefer's 79th anniversary event, going on now.
You're listening to Walk the Herd on 93.7 The Ticket. Here is your host, Rebecca Pearson.
All right, welcome back to Walk the Herd. I'm with Emma Spence. I'm Rebecca Pearson, and we're having a great conversation tonight about life as a gymnast and some of the perspectives that you may never hear about the training regimen and what it does for you body image-wise. But we were just talking right before the break, and I wanted to kind of go to the mental health side of this because you got some help from the university here of getting away from the perspective of you can't eat and you have to be a certain weight to be able to do bars. But you came here to a Division I school, and they taught you what? And how did you deal with this from a mental health perspective?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was being able to be open and honest and vulnerable with all the staff that I was working with here. So my coaches, but then also the sports psychologists, the dietitians here. And it was kind of like a team effort, really. I told them where I was at, where I wanted to be, and they really helped me get there, provide the resources and the tools, like the dietitian, for example, that I was working with. Like she really helped me come up with ideas on things to eat and like the impacts of it, and then why it would be beneficial. Like, so I really understood the benefits of it, and it took a while. It definitely did. And like, there were times where I would kind of go back a couple steps, and then I'd go in and I'd tell her like, hey, I'm struggling with this again. She'd be like, okay, no worries, builds you back up. And just like having that vulnerable relationship with them. And they provided the space for that. Like, I felt comfortable going up to her and being like, hey, I'm struggling with this again. I need help. And like being able to ask for help in those situations and trust that what they were saying was going to help.
Yeah, I was going to say, what was going in your mind? I was going to get to trust maybe a little bit because they had some credibility with you. But when you sort of backslided, what was the self-talk going on that got you back to the old habit? And then what did they say to you to get you into the new?
Yeah, I feel like it was kind of just falling back on, I guess, what I thought I needed. But then also, it's really hard to explain. This stuff is so complex. And I think you know what I mean.
I do.
And it's just like sometimes I didn't even know why. Like
Mhm.
that was not even, I wouldn't say a form of self-punishment, but it was like I felt like that's what I deserved. And
Right.
then that went a little too far. And then I was back a couple steps. And then I had to tell them, like, hey, I'm struggling with eating again. All right, no worries. Oh, let me check your weight. And then, all right, yeah, we're gonna build you back up.
Right.
And just walking through those steps with me so that I didn't feel alone and I didn't feel bad for going that way either.
Yeah. Well, this is something that I have recently taken on because I've lived with it since I was 18. So, and the experience at 18 was driven by my environment and actually something that somebody said to me that was completely innocent, but in that day and age, it just affected me. And then to try to get my life back on track, it was much later in my mid 20s when I started into bodybuilding. And so for my whole life, I have been up and down in weight from the concept of be thinner, need to be thinner for crazy reasons, and then gaining weight and the whole mental game that goes with that. And I've been doing it for 40 years. And in July, I went to a wellness center to try to finally change the cycle.
Yeah.
And I have learned so much about nutrition. So I'm going to kind of speak to some of the things you've learned because people that are listening to us now, there's somebody listening to us right now that understands exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And if you don't have this experience, you think we're nuts, right?
Yeah, probably.
Because you don't know what we have done to ourselves. But a lot of this is habit.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of training, and some of the things I'm getting tools on that are helping me is retraining the habits.
Yes.
And then there's a lot of the perfectionism, which is control, right? And trying to have control over it and then not understanding why you've lost control.
Yep.
And then there's just things you were taught that were wrong. And then there's the world. If you're female in this country, this discussion about how you look and people commenting about how you look has been pervasive for 100 years. And it really started with advertising when you could get that out, get pictures of people out there. And then when the health industry and fitness industry discovered diets and food and all this stuff, right? So there are, I think what's been very interesting for me is the habits and how you retrain yourself on a habit and nutrition.
Yeah.
So you're 1 year out of the program, I guess. Now you're kind of flying solo. How do you feel? Do you have a support network for dealing with this? Do you feel like you're over it and life is grand and you understand it all? Like how are you doing?
I feel like it comes in waves. I feel like I guess the best way that I've been kind of going through it, the teammates that I graduated with, one of my best friends, also has the same kind of struggle. So we're kind of accountability buddies in that sense.
Yep.
That like even this morning she called me. She's like, "Hey, just checking in. Did you eat breakfast this morning?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, like look what I made." Like, "What about you?" She's like, "Yeah, this is what I made." Like we still do that even though we've both been done since May, but we both struggle with it and we've been through similar experiences that kind of give us like explain why we struggle with it.
Yes.
So just having those conversations with people that I guess understand it as well has been really helpful.
Right.
But then also just telling people, like my parents too, like they kind of know the things that I've gone through. And if they see that I may be going down a certain path, like they'll call me out on it. They'll remind me. And I think that's important just to have that accountability too.
Right. Just
now,
a support network.
Yeah. Cause now that I'm not in sport, like I could say it doesn't matter, but it still does. So I have to remind myself that it still does. Even if you're not competing, you still need to be eating. Even if I'm exercising all the time, it's still important to eat.
Yeah. Well, you have 15 years of habits or more of some perceptions, right? And that's a general thing I can share with the audience that, understanding how you get habits, why you think what you do, all of this are things that can be undone if you feel like they're not healthy. So there's help out there. And I'll drop some things in the chat that have been helpful to me. And I'm going to give you the last word, Emma, and what you'd like to share either on this topic or about Emma Spence before we go out.
Oh, man. I feel like on this topic, I guess the biggest thing that I learned is to not be afraid to ask for help. If it feels like it's getting out of control and you're isolated and alone going through it, to talk to someone about it, ask for help if you need. And that was the biggest thing that helped me going through this. And I feel like it could be really beneficial for other people as well.
That's great. Well, thanks for joining me tonight. You've been an
course.
excellent co-host and shared a lot of the inside information that a lot of people don't hear. So I appreciate having you. Thank you. Don't forget to listen to Emma on Thursday nights at 6 o'clock. This is Rebecca Pearson from Walk the Herd at 93.7 The Ticket. We'll see you next week.